welcome everyone to our Sprint 7 show and tell. So if you've not been to one before, welcome. This is my first time doing the introduction, so all the other 6 have probably been a lot better than this, but I'll apologise for that in advance. So what we do at the start of each one is we have to put together an image to sort of demonstrate sort of possibly where we've been and where we're at. So I've actually chosen an image of, hopefully you'll recognise him, probably the most famous runner in the world, Usain Bolt. And this is about kind of 70 metres into a 100-metre race. So I feel like this is kind of a good summation of kind of where we're at with the project now. And so we kind of started off, and actually, to be honest, it doesn't really matter how it started off. It's kind of how we finish is a kind of good analogy again, that actually Usain Bolt is not a great start himself. He kind of stumbles out the blocks, but really what his analogy is the race is won between 60 and 80 metres, and kind of, as you can see from the photo, this is where he's kind of about, well, it looks like it's about 5 or 6 feet in the air. And he's got kind of perfect running form, much like myself, and pushing on to the finish. And this is how sort of hopefully we'll be working as a team to get through these next few weeks to the finish. Okay. So what are these sessions about? So they're about trying to show everybody our progress early and often. Getting feedback from everyone, so not just the people kind of involved with the work, but from everyone else who wants to see it, and showing our next steps and how people can get involved. So at any point during this, please feel free to raise your hand using the app, or use the chat at any point, and with your questions, feedbacks and ideas, and we can either pick them up at this point or towards the end. Okay. So what are we covering today? So introductions, so our team, plan and approach. There's an audience activity, which Connolly just briefly mentioned, around services information architecture. Our achievements in this most recent sprint, along with an update on Drupal CMS updates and the search. What's next for Sprint 8 around homepage design, and then questions and comments at the end. So I will hand you over to Juliet now.
Thanks very much, Mike. And thank you everybody for coming to listen to our latest progress update. Just for those of you who haven't joined us before, just a quick whistle stop look at the people in the team. If I could have the next slide, please. Thank you, Connie. And the one after, thank you. So these are some of the people, this slide and the one following, some of the people that are in the core team. So we've got Richard Beers as the product owner, who you'll hear from later. We've got Robert Walker from South Northants. We've got George Jenkins from Corby as our leads for the West and North. Connolly, who you would have heard in the meeting as well, is the delivery manager. And I'm Future Northants project manager as well. But we have lots of people from across our partners, FutureGov, Decent, and from our SMEs from the service areas working with us on this project. And it's a great team to work with. So thank you. Could I have the next slide, please? Oh, and the one after. Thank you. Okay, so the plan of action. So just to talk you through where we've got to here with some of this work. So this has been our timeline since we started work with our partners back in early November. So we started off with some design, develop, test and iterations, or phases, and we've recently reached a key milestone, which is to release 2 private test sites in the middle of January. We're now obviously at the beginning of February, and we have a plan to release those into the public domain at the end of February, beginning of March. Obviously, our cutover to vesting date is going to be happening on the 1st of April, and after that point, we'll be looking to migrate the content and decommission all the existing sites. So you'll see a little bit later, but it's worth pointing out to you that obviously on vesting day we'll have 2 new sites in place, but we'll also be linking back to all our existing sovereign sites as well, making sure that the customer journey is smooth for that. So thanks very much. I'm just going to hand over to Richard now to talk to you a bit about the approach.
Thanks, Juliet. Just wanted to quickly reiterate really that the site we're building for vesting day is our minimal viable product. So it's safe and legal. It's not the final product by any means. It is just to get us to vesting day, putting the foundations in place and making sure that the majority of content will be staying on our sovereign sites, but making sure that we can link back through to that content. So the content team are doing a hell of a lot of work to create the information architecture, to be able to the customer to link back to all the services that they currently link back to. So we want to protect that customer journey. That is the main priority for Vesting Day. Some content is moving over, so that'll be touched on later on probably by Stephen. Some key content will move, but the majority is staying where it is. So we just wanted to really set that scene that for April the 1st, it is just the safe and legal approach. And as we go on, we'll keep iterating the site. The information architecture will evolve. As content does move over after April the 1st, we'll be able to examine the architecture, get user feedback, testing, and that will change, as will the rest of the site. That iterative approach will be really key post Vesting Day. And just on the next slide, we're doing a lot of work with stakeholders. So we're presenting the site that we've got that you'll see shortly, the beta site, the test site. We're sharing that with lots of stakeholders. We've done lots of different presentations and user testing across all customer groups, started to do it with staff, done some member presentations, showed it to the assistant chief exec. So we are getting lots of feedback. It's, again, just to try and manage those expectations that we won't be able to implement everything for day one. That isn't the idea. It's just to get people's feedback, show them how we're working, what we're working on. And the message is Vesting Day is not the end. That is almost the start of the project. We'll get the foundations in place, and then the site will continue after that. But we just have to ensure for Vesting Day that the customer journeys do work and customers can carry on completing the services and the transactions that they do now. So I'll hand over to Michael. He's going to talk about how we're capturing some of the requirements.
Yes, thanks, Richard. Yeah, so what we're doing is we've got a lovely growing master spreadsheet, which will contain all the URLs, which is basically just the web address of all the new pages on both the North and West sites. We're also gathering a list of short URLs, which if you don't know, is basically just .gov.uk and then / probably like one word, for example, council tax. And this is quite useful for post-planning Vesting Day for things like for council tax, where they want to start sending out information about billing. So even though the link won't actually be live yet, that's available for people to send out on materials. So we're gathering a list of those. And also, along with the list of the links to the Unity pages, is a bit of a sort of dotting the I's and crossing the T's exercises. So saying on these pages, are there any emails linked in? Are there any online forms? Do these all work? Is there links back to content on the existing side? So, for example, with the education service, who I'm also working with, we're going to be linking back to a lot of that content on the existing NCC side. So we're just making sure that when these links are in, that they do all work. And everything's as it should be. Okay, and I'll hand over to Ian now.
Thank you. So yeah, I'm working with Stephen and David on the content for the site. This could be a very, very short activity, which is fine, but we were going to do it a couple of weeks ago where I think it was going to inform more of what we did, whereas now I feel like it might be more of a sense check, but that's absolutely fine too. So if we can skip to the next page, this is ultimately the question that we're going to be asking you. If we go through again, so is anything missing? So what I want to show you, you can see the list. So this is the list of services that we currently have for the sites. We're busy putting this together now. We're speaking to all these different services now to find out what content we need to move over, what we need to link to, and all that kind of thing. But we thought that in this session, it might be useful to give everyone a chance to see this and help us identify any gaps. We hope that we've mostly done this work, and there aren't many, but you never quite know, and it's important to give people the chance to say as much. So feel free to spend a couple of 30 seconds or so having a look through the page. If you want to share verbally with the rest of us any gaps that you can see or any thoughts that you have, that's great. Or obviously you can use the chat as well, because there are a lot of people on the call.
If the slide is a bit small and you're struggling to read, because even it's in front of my face and I'm struggling to read and need my glasses, there's a link here that hopefully one of the team members will be able to put the beta link, the test link for both the West. This is just an example, but there's also a North one. So if you want to put both of those in the chat, one of the core team members, if you could do that, that would be really handy, because then people can see it and be able to zoom in and partake in the activity. Sorry, Ian, just thought I'd mention that.
No, that's absolutely fine. And there's a couple of hands up already, but I guess the last thing to say is that the order of these service on this page is not the one that you see now. I mean, it could be, who knows, but we're going to be using real user data and to inform that process too. But yeah, any thoughts? We've already got a couple of hands up. So Emma McGinley.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hi. I work in the elections team, and obviously that's one of the first very important things that are happening. So I would advise that you put electoral registration under the Councils and Democracy section. Actually, a few
I'm
things.
making a note. Yeah.
So electoral registration, the actual elections, and then maybe a section about standing for as a councillor for both the North and the West.
Fantastic. David and Stephen, are you able to take a note of this as well?
Yeah.
Cool.
You can link to each of the individual council pages if you need to, because they'll be live before that and will have the relevant information on.
Thanks, Emma.
But I'm from Wellingborough, just to confirm.
That's great. Thank you. Lee Taylor.
Yes, hello. There's nothing on there at the moment about climate change and the climate emergency and any policies that we have that are related to that. That's my remit at Daventry, and then South Northants have similar remit. Northampton Borough has some bits on that as well. So it is something that does seem to be missing at the moment, and it also seems to be missing from the North Northants one. I know that they've got similar remits that will be moving over.
Great, thank you. Who else? Roni. Are you there, Roni? Okay, no worries. Just having a look at the chat as well. I've got a very bright sunlight in my eyes. I apologise.
Ian, there's a question on environmental health further up the list from Marie Illingworth.
Okay. Where am I?
It says, is environmental health there?
Okay.
It's
Sorry,
I was just about to say it's actually the environment section. We're gradually turning that into a more environmental health section, and we're looking at possible renaming. Country parks will be taken out of that to go into leisure along with other parks.
Probably worth just saying at this stage as well, these are the top tasks that are on the homepage, not the entire site structure. So it won't have every single thing on there.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Those bullets underneath these headings are not. That's not the entire section. There is lots more underneath. I think it's just had a hand up, but it's gone down again. Tim Carr.
Hi there. Yeah, just I know there's a lot to be done here, guys, and I wonder, there's such a massive audience. To save time, will there be some sort of direct feedback to each of the services on where you are now, and just get them to do some sort of input?
Yes, yeah. So we are actually doing that process right now. We're currently speaking to all the services, and we've spoken to quite a lot of them already. So every service will have very direct input. We are working with each one closely to make sure that we've covered everything. That's why this is very much like just a quick sort of public sense check, really.
Yeah, sure. Thank you.
Okay, so I mean, we don't need to spend the entire time doing this, but if you have any suggestions, then please do feel free to keep putting them in the chat. I can see that people are doing that there, and that's great. Yeah, I can see them coming through. Yeah, great. And I have no idea who I'm handing over to. I apologise.
No, that's okay, Ian. I'll take it over. And then just to quickly update on, some people who have joined may not know, I guess, what a sprint means. So the website project is working in an agile fashion. And what sprint is ultimately a time box period. And in this particular work with the website team, we're working on a 2-week period. So when we say sprint 7, it means we've had 7 2-week periods working on the project. So everything you see is basically the focus of what we've done in the last 10 days. And I think I'm handing over to Lee to tell you all about the technology and development part.
Yeah, that's right. Next slide, please. Yeah, so this development sprint, we've been really focusing on getting the search in place. We've finished up the accordion slice for use by the editors. Another part of this sprint was focusing on the workflows, roles, permissions, how content's going to go from draft, state, review, then to published, the ability to enter a date where content can be reviewed again. We've also added the cookie banner, the ability to enter metadata for each of the content pages, as well as picking up any bug fixes and enhancements that have come along the way. Next slide, please. As mentioned before, you can view both of these on the beta websites. Every now and then we will be syncing what we've been working on from the UAT development environment straight into the beta environment. So what we may discuss now might not be on there. It will eventually be on those sites. Next slide, please. So these are just a few teasers of the back end. Stephen will be going into a bit more detail later on about these, but you've got in the top left hand corner the embed slice experience. The bottom one is a list of how the content will be displayed from the actual content dashboard, and on the right hand side is just a basic example of how to enter the metadata to a page. Next slide, please. Okay, so I'll pass this over to George now, who will be discussing the roles we've recently created and the permissions within Drupal.
Okay, these are the 4 groups that we've created so far, apart from obviously the administrator. Subject matter expert would be the editors within the service areas. Subject matter expert plus is where they would need to have access or the ability to update content outside of normal working hours. That could be because, I don't know, household waste collections are not available or something like that, many things. And obviously we've got the content designer and the content manager, and they are ones that can approve content. Next slide, please. Pass it over to Hannah.
Hello, I'm going to talk to you about search today. I'm just going to share my screen and hopefully it all goes off without a hitch. So let me know when you can all see my screen.
Yes, Hannah.
Cool, brilliant. So search has actually been going on for quite a long time. We've worked on this across several sprints. Yes, so sorry, I just had a brain fart then. So we've got our search results page, and on each of the results, you'll see that we've actually added in a new feature which gives us the parent page, so you know which section that it relates to. We've also got the signposting links as well, so if you're searching for something in particular, you'll be able to go directly to the area that you need to know about. We've limited it to 10 results per page, but that's customizable. And if you search for council, you will get at the bottom of the page, you get your pagination, so you can click and go through to your next items. And that's search. And if we can, I was going to say, can we go to the next slide, please? But I realise we're sharing the screen. The other thing we're going to talk about is cookies. So basically, whenever you go to your websites, it gives you a little cookie on the web page, and I'm sure you've all seen the banners that pop up. What we wanted to do was make sure that we're not loading anything when you visit the website, unless you explicitly say that you wish to do so. So you'll see here, this is the first time, imagining it's the first time I've gone to this website, and you can see at the top, I've got my cookie banner, and I've got 2 choices. I can accept all cookies, or I can reject all cookies. If I accept all cookies, it does set a cookie, but that cookie is to explicitly say, I have accepted cookies, and the same with reject cookies. So if I just do a little demo here, and I accept all the cookies, and you'll see it's just left a little cookie on here, and it says, I've dismissed the banner, and I have accepted the cookies. And now every time I browse this website, any cookies will be set. But if I decided to not accept that, if I just delete that cookie and refresh the page, and I come back up here and I select reject all cookies, it usually sets a cookie that says, this is the problem with the demos. Oh, there we go. So it says I've not accepted the cookies, and this means that anytime I visit this website, absolutely no cookies will be set in your browser, and it respects your privacy. And I'm going to hand over to Connolly for the design update.
Thanks, Hannah. I'm just going to try and share. So we just touched on search and cookies, which are still currently in the development environment. So you may not see that on the beta if you're looking at that then. And I'm going to quickly touch on what's been happening in design. So in Sprint 7, so in the last 10 days, we met with the assistant chief execs from both the West and the North and just had a bit of a discussion about the logo. So on both of the websites, we have increased the size of the logo, and you'll also notice a bit of a color banner change as well. So it was really great that we got a decision, and that's going to be implemented for vesting day. We also had a homepage co-design session. So what you currently see is the first page or the homepage or the landing page that's on the beta site is very much a work in progress. So it's what we've been using with users to test the website, and it changes all the time. And at the moment, we're working on in Sprint 8 the actual homepage that we plan to use for go live for April 1. So we got everyone in the core team together to basically have a co-design session. So people who aren't designers, I guess by title, people who come from the marketing team, people who are the product owners, people who are the project managers, service leads, content team, and we basically gave everyone the same task that we had 10 minutes to basically wireframe. So this is what you can see here. We use a tool called Miro to do this remotely and basically come up with what we thought could be the order of priority. And you can see it's quite a lot of different sketches or boxes you can see on the screen. And so right now, Chris is currently our lead designer. He's currently working on the homepage, which we're going to be unveiling next week. So in the next show and tell, you'll be able to see the work in progress on the homepage after we circulate it with the leadership teams. I'll hand over to Stephen to update you on the content.
Hi. Right, so to be fair, it's pretty simple. We're finally getting into the nitty-gritty and getting there. We have done, or in the process of very nearly having done, council tax, benefits and business rates, bins, schools and education. And I say bins, that includes street cleansing. I know that was a query. Contact us, how to pay, libraries, roads and car parks. And kind of our next big priorities will be business and licensing, democratic and legal, housing, adult social care, and jobs and careers. While we're getting all of this content, we're making kind of a sense check of it, and we're working out how best to lay everything out in terms of the customer journey, which goes back to the Disney question. I'm going to put Connolly on the spot now. Do you remember what the Disney question is?
Oh, I love Disney. It's one of my favorite things. But I guess the Disney question is, and Stephen's going to correct me, but is it needed? Is it valuable?
No, the Disney question is, and it's what I tell all my content developers when writing content, is what time is the 3 o'clock parade? That is apparently the most asked question in Disney World. So if you bear in mind that question, you're going to get it right for our customers. So we've been trying to create a really simple customer journey to make their life kind of easy and make them understand what they're doing. Next slide. Right, so I'm going to have to share my screen now. Okay, so I'm going to talk to you about the actual CMS. So that's the control system in the background that's called Drupal. I'm just going to demonstrate how simple it is to create a home page along with a few pages to go with that kind of service landing or home page. Obviously, for standard content developers, there'll be controls in place. We have to go through an approval process. That's being developed at the moment, but this is what it's like without those controls. So I'm going to create a service landing page first of all. Let's say I was going to do it about roads and parking, but I've decided to make it much more exciting. And it's going to be about the Department of Magical Affairs. The Department of Magical Affairs deals with any magical issues that the council encounters. I don't really need any kind of body or description on this, but I will need to create a section for it. So I'm going to talk about supplies. Let's make it magical supplies. When I create a brand new section, I just have to give it a filler page just for the time being until I create the actual pages. And we can also discuss magical education. I'll just put about Northamptonshire Festival. I'm just going to set it to publish, and that's it, kind of done. Now I'm going to add it to our home page. You can see these are all the lists of services and the kind of top 3 functions that they have, and that reflects all of these services. Comes up on the main home page. So I'm just going to edit it. I'm going to be adding a new one. So I scroll down to the bottom, I'll add a service link. Department of Magical Affairs comes up because I've saved and published it earlier. I will just put about Northamptonshire Council just for the time being, and I'll publish that. And when it comes to me refreshing it, we now have a Department of Magical Affairs. But we'll also need a little bit of content for that as well. So I'm going to create a service page. And I'm going to have to say it belongs to the Department of Magical Affairs. The title is going to be about potions. Summary is about potions available to you. And then we get to the actual page content itself. I'm going to keep it real simple. So we provide many potions that could help you. We've just got some extras that we can now add into the system. So I can add a call to action, which is essentially a button, a quote, or an accordion. So in this case, I want to add an accordion. I'm going to create a malevolent mixture. The basic summary. This is not a cocktail I've tried myself, but I'm sure it'll taste lovely. Let's make sure these bits are right. And I may want another magical accordion. So, Mandrake, Draught. And the ingredients I prefer in this particular potion, some lovely Red Bull, and a little bit of vodka. So I'm going to create and place those. And I'm going to publish the page. Now, just because that page has been published, it doesn't mean that people can see it live on the site straight away. I need to go back to my service landing page. In fact, I don't need to create a new one. I need to go back to what I already created. Edit it. Go back to my sections. And just add stuff about potions. I'm going to publish and update that. So now when I click into the Department of Magical Affairs, you can see the section I created, which is magical supplies, the potions available. We've still got that about Northamptonshire Council at the bottom, but I presume we'd link to Hogwarts at that point. But if I click on potions, we've now got a new accordion. So we provide many potions that help you, but if I want to find out more about the malevolent mixture, or what I'm going to have on Friday, it'll actually give me a proper list, and the same with the restoration draught that I'll have on Saturday. I can open and close it as I need. And that is essentially the CMS. At this point, it's really quick, simple and easy to use. Like I said, there'll be approval processes in places for lots of people, but it works really well. And then That's fine. Connolly, did you want me to go through what we did for some of the certain departments as well? Yeah.
I'd love that. You've got Marie saying very simple, good work. And then David said, West website won't be as exciting as this. We'll largely just have council services, and people are smiling.
Some of the areas that we've recently completed, we're waiting for approval for, but we've got the kind of main base in place is council tax as an example. Council tax, if I want to pay my council tax, has the options of choosing which council, because we're still using the existing payment systems. We can also pay something by direct debit instead, which I guarantee anyone who works in council tax wants. We can talk about council tax changes and where to go if you need to move home, for example, your circumstances change. We break things down in terms of where your council tax actually goes. We've got absolutely loads of pages of content that are just being finalised at the moment. We've done the same for benefits as an example, and business rates as well. Just final little tweaks, and we're going to be there with those. And we've also been working with the county council services as well. So that could be the libraries, for example, where we're linking back to the existing website for lists of libraries. It'll go straight through to the libraries that Northamptonshire County Council provides. And yes, content is developing well. And that's it from me.
Thanks, Stephen. If anyone's got any questions on the back end, I think there's a few content editors that have joined the call. Feel free to add it to the chat, or we will have a question answer session at the end where you can ask Stephen and David all of the questions about Drupal. I'll try share my screen again. I'll hand over to Robert.
Connolly, and thanks, Stephen, for those wonderful potions. I'm sure I'll try them at the weekend. Accessibility update. Our site Morse automated accessibility checks, which have now been running for 3 weeks, are showing signs of continual improvement, and our current scores, which you can see screenshots of on the right there. We currently put our councils in the top 20 of all council websites, so it's looking very good for vesting day. L&D, LGSS L&D have produced the first draft of the online accessibility course, and that's now looking good. It's easy and engaging to use, and that's now back with them to add some additional content and a few tweaks, and that will be mandatory for all website editors to take before they're let loose on the system. And we've now signed contracts with the Shore Trust to undertake a manual accessibility check of both sites. This will probably be around about vesting day, so hopefully they will be actually testing the live site, not the beta site, so we can get a proper look at what's going on. And that's about it, and I think it's over to Fiona for user testing.
Hi everyone. So I'm going to do a quick update. We're currently in our stage 2 of testing on the private beta sites, and today we conducted over 20 interviews, which is amazing, which include residents and staff. This will be ongoing, and during Sprint 7 we show the participants their non-local authority to view first, and then we asked for their comments and feedback. We also tested different journeys on the relevant Northants Council site, and these journeys will be evolving as further content and developments are made. A few examples were reviewing content for school and education, i.e. checking term dates, free school meals, and also reviewing the news layouts sections on the desktop versus mobile. So what's happening in Sprint 8? We'll be reaching out more widely to customer service advisors across North and West, as well as local councillors to participate. On the homepage, we'll be testing the search function and the bins postcode checker and the cookies policy, and social media channels will be put in at the footer of the homepage, such as Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. So we're actually still keen to expand our research group, which is still open to participants. So please spread the word and share the sign-up form. I think Sue's going to pop it in the chat now, and this will be the direct Google form that we're using to get people to sign up and be a part of our group. Or you can email us at customeranddigital@northamptonshire.gov.uk, and I'll pop that in the chat as well if you want to be a part. Thanks again, and I'll pass you on to Connolly now.
So we've just taken you through what we've achieved in the last 10 days. So you might be wondering, what do you plan to do next? So in Sprint 8, we will be working from today all the way up to Wednesday the 24th. And I guess the key focus for us is on the homepage. So we are going to really focus on getting the core team across the homepage and then circulating that within the assistant chief execs as well as the ELT teams. And then individually, we've got a few different work streams. So we've got the research stream, content stream, design stream, and development stream, as well as a kind of program management stream and comms. There's a lot happening. So hopefully you'll be able to join us at the next show and tell. So the next one should be in your diaries. If it's not, let us know. Thursday, the 25th February at 2 p.m. And if you prefer to read rather than watch a video, the project team are also working in the open and creating sprint or week notes where we kind of go into a bit more detail about what we did in the sprint. This sprint is actually my time, so hopefully this by Friday it will be up on the Spark site. So we'll have a link to the Spark site. Hopefully somebody in the core team can drop that in. So if you want to see what has happened and this is your first time listening in, you can actually review and listen or watch the show and tells that are recorded and saved on the Spark site. There's also key messages and FAQs which have just been added to the Spark sites as well. And that's it from us today. So we now encourage everyone to use the raise your hand feature or the chat box. You're welcome to stay and talk with the core team about anything in specific that you've seen today or any further questions you have. Thank you so much for joining us.
Oh.
Just looking through the chat, Connolly, just to see if who's got the hand up. There is a hand up, but I'm just trying to find out where it is. Oh, Emma McGinley.
Hello. I just had a few questions and a suggestion of things to be doing in the next few weeks from an elections point of view. On our current site, we have a function that's called Find My Polling Station. And from around the 9th of April, that would be something that's really handy for people in the area. So that's one thing. And the other thing, I was just going to ask, who are the content editors for like all the like the elections page and things like that? Is it going to be reviewed by elections admin, or is it a function that you're doing first?
So I'll jump in and then I'll hand over to Stephen and David and Ian. So in the core team right now, with the vesting day deadline about 2 months away, we're going to basically work as hard as we can to try and get everything up to date that is safe and legal for MVP. So right now we've got Stephen, David, Ian, Arle, and there's a few other product owners as well that have editing access to the system. This sprint we worked on what we shared. George said the 4 different kind of like roles and permissions that over the next couple of weeks we're going to test with a couple of people to make sure that that actually has the tasks that they need to do within their remit. But I believe, and Stephen and David, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think until vesting day, so from April 1 and beyond, it will be reviewed then who has access and training to the system to be able to add content. But till vesting day, so before April 1, I believe Stephen and David are going to take the charge with the content entry.
Okay, that's fine. We're all doing our separate-ish things on our websites now, so there will be information, but it would be really handy to have things on there as soon as possible.
Great. I think Stephen and David, if you can let Emma know the timeline of when we're speaking with the election team, that would be handy in the chat.
Yeah, so we've had the initial meeting with them. Yeah.
I know that Guy Holloway from Kettering is leading on the comms for the elections, and we met with him this morning, so it should be in hand, but I thought I'd just bring it up.
No, that's perfect. Thanks, Emma. That's what these sessions are for, these two-way conversations.
Emma, which authority are you from? Sorry.
I'm from Wellingborough.
Wellingborough, thank
you. David, who did we speak to last week when we spoke about legal and democratic services?
So for each of the services, we've got a contact in the Future Northants project team. We have the initial meeting with them. Sometimes there'll be a service lead as well, but it's generally our contact is the Future Northants project lead for each area, because obviously there's otherwise you'd be speaking to hundreds of people potentially, so we kind of go through them.
Yeah, I just wanted to tell to Gemma who we spoke to, so she can have a reference point.
Yeah.
And this is a person that have been helping us in collating all the content.
Yeah, I believe it was Jennifer Joyner for that one.
Yes, I think you're right.
Thank you.
Guy, you popped your video on before. I saw you come up on my screen. I wondered if you were going to say something.
No, I heard, thank you, Connolly. I heard my name, so I thought I better just let you know I am here, but I don't think it necessarily required an answer. It was just an update, wasn't it, on the elections comm? So, but I am here if anyone wanted to ask me, so thanks.
Thanks, Guy. We had a really good turnout today, team. I'm not sure if you saw, but there was 99 or 98 people at one point. Hannah sent me a screenshot. So thank you so much for your time. It means a lot that you're interested in the project. And I really encourage you to keep coming along to these sessions. But we've got another 10 or so minutes. So please, if there's any questions that you don't feel comfortable asking in this group, please message Customer and Digital, and one of the core team will be able to help. But Mike B, what is your question? Oh, Mike, you're on mute. I'm so sorry.
Is that better?
So much better.
Hi, I'm just curious as to when things settle down and obviously the website will be the control of the website will be handed on. Will the different levels of website inputters, for want of a better phrase, will they be mutually exclusive? Because I would say at the moment, I'm probably all 4 of those levels. We can input our own content and also authorize it and publish it, but I'm guessing there'll be, in a larger organization, there may be a tighter control on who can and can't.
I might hand this question over to Arle, just if you could give a little bit of context into the workflows that Debo and yourself, Arle, work through, and then perhaps Juliet can talk about the future, but in terms of how we got to those roles, that might be handy for context.
Hello.
Hi.
So we've been working on the new content workflow, and basically there's a web team that is working with content editors that are working in the specific service area, and then there are like content within the web team. There are people that are expressively like gonna focus on the content and how make sure that it's written in the right way, that the tone is correct, and that is meeting like accessibility needs and so on and so forth. And we're working on making the Drupal, so like the system behind any publication, reflect the roles and the permissions that we designed. But like on who is going to be the team and the new roles and everything, Juliet might know more because I don't know about it. So like I don't know exactly how this is roll out. We designed the idea, and how did we get there? So we did a couple of workshops with current content leads and content editors to understand like what was their experience and what worked and what didn't. We sent out a survey as well to understand like their ability in general to use a content platform like Drupal, management system like Drupal, and in general like what kind of support they needed, any major barrier they had before in inputting content or anything like that. So I think like the overall model we designed is designed in a way that we are going to have some more quality control over what is written on the site, so that we've got some principles that we want to work keeping in mind, and we want to make the content accessible mainly. So we design roles, and as I said, like roles and a workflow around it. But then how does this translate into reality? Julia will know more.
I think probably worth clarifying that if you're currently a content editor working on your sovereign sites, then that would continue for your sovereign sites as it is at the moment. Looking at the MVPs, so the 2 new sites, initially it's going to be a small content team managing that and overseeing that to ensure, as Ali said, to ensure things like accessibility and that there's some kind of standardization across them. As those sites get bigger, then that pool of people will change. but I would still foresee that we would have content editors and service areas working on it, but they will need to be trained up in how to use the editor and how to make sure that content is fulfilling accessibility needs, etc. So we have got some training planned that will be rolled out in from day two onwards. It's going to take a little bit longer than that, and also some sort of accessibility training too. We'll have an online accessibility course that will help with that. I don't know if that answers your questions, Mike. So Mike, what authority are you from? Because it just comes up as Mike B when you speak.
Oh, East Northants.
East Northants. Okay, thank
Yeah.
you. Does that answer your question?
It's kind of what I expected. I
Yeah.
think it's quite unusual for the content editors to perhaps have as much power, for want of a better word.
I mean, I think it's well, there will be certain things that people will be able to do, but there'll be sort of some oversight to ensure that we're keeping things. We want to keep our nice shiny accessibility ratings going forward and make sure that things become consistent, really. So yeah.
I think like when you talk about power, like when we think about SMEs, they are still de facto accuracy responsible people. So we still rely on them to have accurate information on the site. But what we want to do is to put together a system for which we go beyond factual accuracy and we actually make it accessible. So that's why we have been designing this process around it.
Martin Swan.
Oh, hi, thanks. Yeah, I'm Martin, the planning team over at Wellingborough. Yeah, thanks for the update. It's really good, all the progress being made. So that fantastic. I think the thing that I have when we talk about the customers sometimes, because obviously it is local residents, but we do quite a lot of work with businesses and developers and so on. And I was just perhaps I might be thinking a bit early at this stage, but it'd be useful to have some form of corporate communication we can use, because obviously what we want to do is promote the new website to our partners and sort of encourage them to use that, and it'll be part of our tool moving forward for efficiencies, etc. But I think the starting point will be we'd want to share what is being launched with our partners, so they and with some positive narrative, which there's clearly a lot of that to use. So, but it's just about the key facts to get across to them. I think that would be useful for our partnership meetings and all our applicants and the agents and the people who we consult with when doing planning apps, So yeah, that would be very positive if you could do that at the right time. Yeah, thanks.
And Martin, I encourage you to go on the Spark site. I'm not sure if any of the core team managed to pop that in the chat, but there is a list of key messages that you could probably review and perhaps start from a conversational standpoint. And we are working with Cara, and I don't think she's on the call. I did a quick skim. If you are, Cara, let me know. But Cara is working on the Day One campaign from, I guess, a resident perspective, which I can check with her, but potentially does include like businesses in the areas as well. So in terms of that, we are hoping to promote the change to the website, both the unitary website, but also the sovereign sites are going to have a bit of a branding change. Ideally, I think, Juliet, I'm going to say the word March, but I don't know when in March, but we're hoping to have a branding change that you may have seen if you've come to previous sprints about how each of the 8 local authorities will still obviously exist after April 1, but the kind of like area, which is like the header area, will hopefully start to look more like the West Blue or the North Green, with obviously the respective logos becoming more of a text item. So Wellingborough, rather than having the logo, will be more of the Wellingborough area. So if you haven't seen those and you're curious, let us know. Juliet has all of the designs that each of the local authorities will be rolling out in March.
Yeah, thank you. That's great. Thanks.
Are there any other questions? Thank you so much for the brave souls that have come off mute. It's always a tough one in this remote working environment, but it's always nice to see people's faces. So thank you if you've had a good internet connection that you've been able to turn the video on. Are there any other questions or comments, either on what you've seen or what's coming up?
Not from me, no, thank you. That was excellent demonstration, though, real clear. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your feedback. It's really nice to hear that you found it helpful, because it's always another meeting in the diary. So it's really nice that you attended the session and you found it helpful. So hopefully you'll come to the next one too, because it's going to be exciting. It's the big homepage unveiling. So we'll see how we go.
Yes,
But wish us
definitely be
luck.
there.
Lots happening this next 10 days.
Great.
Thank you.
And just on that, if there's anyone that you currently work with that you think would benefit from the session, or anyone that's just curious about what's happening with the Unitaries that you currently work with, any colleagues, please feel free to get in contact with customer and digital, and Fiona, Juliet and I will make sure that the future show and tell sessions are shared wider. Ideally closer to vesting day. We have over 100. We almost got there today, 98. So let's see if in Sprint 8 show and tell we can try get 100 people online, getting excited about the change that's now just over 2 months away. So thank you so much for joining, everyone. Any other questions, feel free to email customer and digital, and hopefully someone will put that in the chat if you're wondering. Yep. And the slides that we saw today and this recording will be on the Spark site, and hope to see you all next week. Hope you have a lovely day. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Right.